So, welcome back to Limitless Detroit, where we explore health, wellness, and fitness in every aspect of the life. And today, I have the pleasure of bringing on Mr. Pastor Paul Walters. Paul, I'm going to introduce you real quick, if you don't mind, and I have a special introduction for you that I've not shared with you all of it. So, Paul is the senior pastor of Lutheran Church of the Master in Troy, Michigan, father of 3 boys, but now boys to men.
Empty nesting.
Empty nester, my goodness. Wife of Brandy, incredible lactation consultant, resource for nursing mothers all around Detroit Metro, correct?
Yes.
And we'll talk more about that maybe
in a future
take
podcast.
Her down the road. Yeah, that'd be great. Paul is also a cyclist and a distinguished Knight of Sufferlandria.
Yes, I am.
Here we go. So for those of you who know cycling, and particularly the Wahoo app, correct? Mm-hmm. You can correct me on this, but I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
They'll recognize the Knights of Sufferlandria as a badge of honor, only obtained by performing 10 pretty rigorous rides, correct?
Back to back.
Back to back with less than 10 minutes of actual rest between them. Right?
Nailed it.
Yeah. You have to record it on the Wahoo app.
You have to document it, and you have to have suffered and be proud of it.
Yes.
You can't dial the intensity down so low that it's easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the topmost of Wahoo's rules for completion, which I was reviewing last night, I quote, "Please see a doctor. You're not right and are in desperate need of help." I love that. I love that. But I mean, that defines some of the cycling rides I'm sure that you've been through. Oh,
absolutely.
And that's always been kind of a cool little characteristic. Yeah. Last but not least, among many other interesting things about Paul, he's the organizer of the Mighty Gobbler, the fastest growing Thanksgiving Day race. I mean, in Michigan for sure, if not in the world.
Absolutely.
Right? Featuring none other than the world famous tunnel of turkeys, one of which you see back here. Does this guy have a name? I didn't ask.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe we can have a vote or something.
We can have a vote on what his name is.
Yeah.
So Paul, thank you for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Glad to be here.
Is that a good enough introduction? Anything you want to add?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's start with the obvious thing here in the background, the Mighty Gobbler.
The Mighty Gobbler,
right? Limitless has been involved with it in the past.
Yep.
It's we still have many of our patients actually that sign up and always look forward to it, which is really cool.
Yep.
Last time I was there, I saw I want to say probably a dozen of my own clients there, some of whom were just connected to you like secondarily, some of whom had been because of our promotion of it in the past, kind of just thought, hey, this is the greatest thing ever to do on Thanksgiving Day. But it's become a really well-known event in Troy, and I would love for you to tell us, like, how did it get started?
Well, this is our 10th year, our 10th annual. We started 10 years ago with 250 runners. The idea was to give, the congregation has a platform, and we have resources and volunteers and energy. We wanted to give a gift to the community, and we wanted to raise the profile of the church in the community. Yeah. We wanted a first-class race. We wanted professionally timed. We want a race, and then through that we've grown in our giving and our generosity to other organizations. But we started from the beginning hiring a race management company. I was so proud the first year. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea who would show up. We had no idea if we'd get any runners. And 250 people showed up on a rainy Thanksgiving morning, and they afterwards said, "Wow, that was so well organized and run."
Oh, awesome.
And I owe it all to the race management company we hired that told us what to do, because we had no idea.
Yeah.
And now 10 years later, this year we're reconfiguring a bunch of stuff, so there's going to be more chaos. But we've grown from 250 runners to last year over 1,300. We're planning for 1,600 runners. We give away $1,000 in prize money, so our top-end runners, our male-female winners, are as fast as the runners in Detroit.
You were just telling me off camera what some of the times were. What was last year's winning times?
The last year male winning time was 15:30, and last year female winning time was around 17:30.
Awesome.
And she was in the top 10 of the overall finish as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we got some people that work hard and run fast.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing you were explaining to me as well earlier is this is while you do participate with some charities and there's some giving that happens on the back end of this here. This is a pretty legitimate 5K and 1 mile race as well, right?
We have a 1 mile walk run. That is not scored.
Yeah.
So we do that, and we have everywhere from fast kids running to grandmas walking with walkers.
Yeah.
And we do that 1 mile at 8:30. Then at 9 o'clock, we have the chip-timed USA Track and Field certified 5K course running through the streets of Troy. Actually closed down a lane of Big Beaver in Troy for part of the race.
That's right.
And that race goes off. And then everybody who finishes, no matter what, gets the 10th annual commemorative, unique, one-of-a-kind finisher medal.
Pretty sweet medals.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. We want to give people good value for their money, right? We want to give you a great experience, a lot of fun. We have some great sponsors as well. AJ Desmond's and Sons has been with us as a presenting sponsor from the beginning. Hoover Electric Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is now a presenting sponsor as well.
Cool.
And those sponsors, all of them help make a big difference in what we can do on the back end.
Cool.
The registration fees kind of almost fund the race itself, and then a lot of that money we get from those sponsors helps us to be able to be generous on the back end. And we've given away now probably $70,000 to local charities, and we've been intentional about how we choose those too.
Cool. I think we'll
get
comment
there
a little bit more on
Yeah.
that later too.
Yeah.
As someone that's actually run the race myself, I think the thing that sticks out to me is like really the whole community gets involved even if they're not running. I remember turning into a neighborhood, and there's a chunk of it when I went. I think it was a couple years ago was the last time I actually ran, but people with the cowbells.
Well, there's two things there.
Yeah.
First off, every one of we have 20-some course marshals on the course. They all get a cowbell.
Oh, that's
so
fair.
all of our
those were the
course
marshals.
marshals have
Yeah.
cowbells.
Yeah.
But the story I heard was, because I've never actually run the race. I'm too busy organizing the race. But the story I heard is people turning the corner and seeing families that impromptu set up like aid stations with Fireball liquor shots.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Which is not recommended for racing.
I can confirm that those are on the race. I cannot confirm whether or not I participated in that when I did it.
I can tell you that Mighty Gobbler has no endorsement of such activity, nor did we plan that.
Especially Fireball.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Well, so tell us, if you could, tell us a little bit about the charities that you do support then.
Well, let me tell you about the story of the charities.
Great.
The first year, because we're right across the Somerset Collection, the first year we decided that we wanted to give half of our money to Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers, which is a small local nonprofit that helps older people stay in their homes. Older and disabled folks in the community. So we supported them, but then and the church is connected with them as well. We have volunteers that work with them. So that was cool. But then we also decided, Mitch Albom had his big charity, his big fundraiser right after Thanksgiving at Somerset Collection. And we decided we wanted to do that too. We were also trying to kind of get Somerset Collection on board because we needed to use some of their property.
Can you comment on who he is?
Mitch Albom, local sports reporter. He wrote Tuesdays with Maury, national best-selling author, and he raises about $1 million every year for local nonprofits that he works with and cares about.
Sure.
So I go to his event. He's in the big courtyard at Somerset Collection. He's got on the radio all day fundraising, and I've got my check for $2,000, and I got 3 seconds to take a selfie with Mitch and give somebody my check, and I look over behind me, and there are the enormous checks, and there's one for $50,000 and another for $100,000, and I realize my $2,000 is not doing anything.
Yeah.
And at that point, our race team decided, the team from church that organizes and does all the work, we thought, we want our gift to make a difference.
Yeah.
We $2,000 is not moving the needle towards $1 million, and he's got donors giving $100,000, and good for him.
Sure.
Right, and you don't raise $1 million without having some big donors.
Absolutely.
So we looked around and said, well, who do we relate to? Who does the church care about? Who do we invest in? What matters to us? We kept Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers, and then we replaced Mitch Albom's charity with the Micah 6 community, and this is a bunch of young people. Well, they're older now because they've been at it for a while, that bought crappy houses in Pontiac and have decided to live there and transform the neighborhood. And they are doing amazing work. They're building a $20 million community center out of an old school building they built. It is now a neighborhood people want to move into. Rents are increasing because there's more stability. It's a great place. So we did that. And last year, instead of giving away $2,000, we gave away $16,000 to our charity partners.
That's awesome.
So $8,000 to each of them, as well as the canned food drive with the world's greatest raffle.
Yes.
So MJ Diamonds every year for 10 years has given us a diamond bracelet, And that diamond bracelet we raffle off, along with a bunch of other fun stuff that we collect from local businesses and things like that. Every unexpired can of food you donate, you get one raffle ticket.
It's logical, but I bet some people miss that detail.
Well, we get high school kids whose eyes are good. You can read the expiration dates to vet this, sort that out.
Yeah.
But we donate that to Detroit People Concerns Food Pantry to help that part of the community too. And we end up filling a pickup truck bed, a full-size pickup truck bed full of canned goods that we end up donating to them every year. And then we have a lot of fun with the raffle and give away the diamond bracelet and usually a Garmin and a bunch of other stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. People for sure stay for that part.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. They might ditch out after that, but they stay
well,
for that.
after that, it's pretty much done and everybody wants to go home and get the turkey.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. Well, so what, I guess, what has this experience been like for you personally? It's 10 years organizing an event. And I get that charity, like your involvement there is not necessarily the primary focus, but like, what has this meant for you? Like, why?
Well, the race itself is just fun.
Yeah.
The day is positive, it's energy, everybody's smiling. I love the volunteers from my congregation that show up that think that I'm annoying and crazy for spending like a month and a half saying, I need you to sign up and volunteer. And they're like, Thanksgiving morning, why would I do that?
Yeah.
But we get whole families registering that way. And in fact, we get families that'll call up every year and say, you said you'll give a group discount, will you give us a group discount? And they'll bring like 16 extended family members and we'll give group discounts to people that do that kind of stuff. But then the members show up and they go, wow, this is amazing. Look we've got 1,500 people in the parking lot, we've got a DJ playing, we've got people are happy and smiling, and that all is just so positive. And then early in December on a Sunday morning, we invite our charity partners and we invite our presenting sponsors to come, and we get to give these big checks. And the cool part there is hearing the stories of our charity partners and our nonprofit partners, and hearing what difference that money is going to make to their work and to what they do, and helping them fulfill their mission. Because we want to be part of that, and that's exciting. It's exciting that we keep enough money so next year we can have another race.
Sure.
Because there's early expenses and you got to invest in the thing. But we don't keep money. This is not a fundraiser for the church. This is a way to give money back into the community as well. So we love that.
That's awesome.
Do I get to talk about my other
Please do,
emails now?
Well, because that's a part of it too, is like your own personal involvement. I'm sure there's been a lot of standout experiences you've had, and messages from people too. Yeah,
so this is from last year, and I thought like we're just doing this nice little race thing, right? Yeah. And one time I was a runner back in the day. I remember in seminary one time I was going to run a race, and the professor says, "Oh, what's the race for?" And I go, "To see who's fastest."
Fair enough.
Like that's what the race is for, right?
Yeah, that's what a race is.
But what I've come to realize too is apparently there are other reasons to run these things. Yeah. And apparently not everybody shares that attitude, which apparently is fine. And last year I got a couple of emails that were really, really moving. One of them from a woman named Dawn, and she wrote, quite a few years ago, our Weight Watchers class started walking, jogging the Mighty Gobbler together. We shopped Costco together to get all the cans and tickets, and then we'd stay till the end for the prizes. Such a great way to start the holiday and a wonderful event. Terry Mack was central to organizing the group coming to the race. And then a week before Thanksgiving, Terry and his wife were tragically killed in a car crash. His friends from Weight Watchers walked the Gobbler in his honor. Oh, and that, the idea that this kind of little thing that we do would be so meaningful and impactful. And then I get another message that same year from the family of Carrie Dupree. Carrie's 42 years old, and she died during a training ride on her bike. She was a triathlete. Her family was in town for Thanksgiving. They don't even live locally. They were in town for Thanksgiving, and they ran the Mighty Gobbler in her honor and in her memory. And then that was carried forward to this year because we have sponsors, usually business sponsors, right? Companies give us money to support. But this year, one of our platinum sponsors is the family of Sean Klemperens. And he was a runner who in his 40s died of cancer. And so they wanted to sponsor part of the race in his memory.
That's amazing.
Which again reminds me of like how this thing transcends sport. It transcends goal setting and accomplishment. It transcends how fast the fastest runners are, or how long it takes the last person to make it through the course. All that kind of stuff. that's impactful too.
It's taken on a much bigger meaning
yeah.
for people than you even intended to.
Yeah,
in the beginning,
yeah,
I'm
which is beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
and it happened organically. Just happened.
Is that like, do you market this at all? Do you put word out in the community? What's your main way of getting people to know about it?
For the race itself, or for this?
Yeah.
Well, the race itself, we have, I think now 3,000 or 4,000 people that we harass with MailChimp emails and texting and things like that. You know, it keeps growing on its own because as that base expands, we have a Facebook presence and an Instagram presence, and we're on runmichigan.com. And we do some of those things. We put flyers out at Limitless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
I left them on your desk.
For sure.
And you better not throw them away.
We're going to put them up all over the place.
Good.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried. I'm just giving you a hard time.
We're going to leave this turkey, though, as collateral for that.
Oh.
Maybe not. You need it.
I need it. I've only got, I can't have 3 and 4.
That's true.
It would be off balance. I got to have
That's true.
8 tunnel turkeys for the tunnel. So we do that. We drop flyers off at local running stores and that kind of stuff. But a lot of it becomes word of mouth, and a lot of it becomes people having a great experience.
Often that's how good things grow in the first place, is just if it's a good thing, people share that with their friends and family.
And we have never had a race where one year was less than, we have always grown. And last year we added almost 300 runners from the year before. So we're excited.
That's incredible.
We're hoping 1,600 runners Thanksgiving Day to come out to Troy. And it's going to be phenomenal.
Being a heck of an event, and I will share more with our listeners here about how they register,
MightyGobbler.com.
about it.
MightyGobbler.com. And I can tell you, as a friend of the podcast, as a friend of the podcast, you can get a $5 discount coupon off of registration costs. Use the code Seth24, Seth24, all lowercase, SETH 24. Save $5 at the Mighty Gobbler.
Awesome, thank you for that.
And register that way. MightyGobbler.com, and and that's MightyGobbler.com tells you all the information. There's a register there link and all that.
Love that.
Yep.
Cool. What's your social media stuff too? Do you know your Instagram handle?
I have no idea.
Okay, well we will tag it.
We'll figure it out. We're I don't know. We're Mighty Gobbler.
It's probably the Mighty Gobbler. Or
probably
is
something like that.
I'm sure that people can find it, but we'll link it for sure. At least in
Absolutely.
the show notes and all over the videos that we do.
Awesome.
I want to move on. Obviously, your role with the Lutheran Church. You've been a lifelong member of the Lutheran Church, haven't you? I want to talk just about your unique perspective, I guess, on generosity, on giving, and I have a few things just looking into this. A lot of the people that follow us and a lot of the people that are, I guess, that are like-minded around Limitless are very interested in what they can do to like optimize themselves, right? And so, in the interest of optimization, it seems silly, but there are some profoundly positive things that happen when you adopt a spirit of generosity, right? And it's not just spiritual, it's emotional, it's physical, it's psychological. There's a lot of complexity that comes behind generosity. And I want to hear you talk on that in a minute too, but just in a brief kind of physical approach to this is, you mentioned this earlier when we were talking about this off camera, but dopamine and feel-good chemicals exist not just from, like sugar and exercise. They exist from the acts that we choose to do and the decisions that we make. And generosity has been shown to very much increase dopamine levels, which is really cool. Stress reduction. So acts of generosity significantly lower cortisol levels. And for people that are stressed, I mean, that's just about everyone these days feels burdens on their shoulders. And to have something like, it's a very paradoxical thing to think about, if you're so inward with your problems to then go outward, and yet so much of the time that seems to actually be the right call, right? Better heart health. So giving and generosity can significantly lower blood pressure and reduce risk of heart disease. That's a pretty crazy thing to think about, right? These are just some physical assets that we have that go along with this. Stronger social connections. Helping others strengthens bonds. It increases feelings of trust and empathy, and it enhances social relationships. So one thing that we see a lot with like an injured athlete, whether they're a college hopeful Division I star that's trying to make it, that has a horrible injury, it can be really depressing for them. Or whether it's an aging athlete that really is just extremely down in the dumps that they are not able to participate with their pickleball club, or they're not able to go out and do the one thing singular that they really get a lot of like drive from, like running or cycling.
Right.
When you're pulled away from those things, it can be really easy, just a characteristic that we see from people, to isolate yourself into, like I mentioned earlier, to go inward instead of outward. And we are constantly telling our people, like, you need to connect with people around you.
Right.
Like you might be in a dark place right now, but on the other side of the dark place, there was always light on the other side of the clouds, right? And so having, again, it's a paradox to think about how giving and how generosity might actually help you to connect more with people. But if you're in a lonely, in an isolating and in an injured place, especially, this could be actually a really positive thing to behave with.
Well,
right?
and that injury can be emotional, psychological. It can be about all kinds of things in your life. And I see the same thing in the life of the church, that sometimes people who are hurting the most, who you think would get the most benefit from connecting with and being around people that are just interested in loving on them, they're also the people that then don't show up and aren't present and isolate themselves. And that's hard, because how do you, like, if you're not connected and not present, we can't share the gift with you, and there's only so much that phone calls and things like that do.
It's true.
And the world is a busy place, and it's not that people don't care, but it's easy when you're not around to not remember.
Sure.
Because things get full. So
that's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, hey, the last thing is you can live longer.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's been shown to basically improve longevity in life, and that's just 5 things that having generosity in your life accomplishes. But obviously, this sounds like it's something close to your heart. But how do you think that engaging in not just like charity work, but just generosity, how does that impact our overall being and wellness?
It's it's interesting. So I am a pastor, so I get to like refer to the Bible. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So in Matthew, Jesus says, "Where your treasure is, your heart will be also." Which is interesting, because usually we want to reverse that. We want to say, where your heart is, your treasure will. So what you care about, then your money will follow. But what Jesus says actually is, where you invest your money, that's where your heart goes. And so investing your money into things that you care about, your heart, your spirit follows that path, right? So it's not that, like in the church, we say we encourage generosity towards the institution, not just because it helps the institution, because it also helps connect you more deeply to your faith. And so when we talk about generosity, we also want to talk about what is meaningful. I think too much of what we do today is small and less significant than we think it is. And we give it an outside space. So it's one thing, so you see the GoFundMe that tears at your heartstrings, and you give them $100, and maybe you give $50 someplace else, and at the end of the year, you've given away $300 or $400. And that's probably not a meaningful gift, and it's probably not significant to your means in terms of being generous. You might be able to think about that as, you might be able to kind of delude yourself that a little bit, but really, what would a meaningful gift look like? And what would giving significant to your means look like? And how would that really impact the investment you have in the organizations, the institutions, the groups that are doing the work that they're doing? And if you really invest financially generously with a nonprofit or organization, you're probably going to spend time there.
Yeah.
You're probably going to invest your time and energy there too. And what does that look like? Of course, it's hard when everybody seems to be grabbing and pulling and things like that, and you get infinite numbers of requests for things. So how do you manage that?
Right.
And I think you could go either shallow and broad or narrow and deep. You could give everybody $5 and think that's fine, or you could really think about what matters to me. What do I care about? There's a lot of pain in the world, right? From burros out in the Mountain West that are need to be rescued, or the wolves in Yellowstone, or there's horrible things all over the world that we could worry about. There's poverty around us. There's diseases. I do the Tour of Sufferlandria every year, and we raise money for the Davis Finney Foundation that helps with Parkinson's, because Davis Finney, former professional cyclist, has Parkinson's, right? Obviously, he cares about Parkinson's,
Certainly.
Which, fair.
Near and dear to
American Heart Association does good work. Red Cross does good work, right? I gave blood yesterday, right? Because we need to be caring for people and providing these things. What do you care about? What moves you? What matters? There are charities, I think, that don't need to exist. I know somebody one time requested gifts. In lieu of flowers, give gifts to the University of Michigan Football Scholarship Endowment Fund. I'm not saying it doesn't have any value.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that the University of Michigan Football Scholarship Endowment Fund needs any more money.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm pretty sure one Saturday afternoon would take care of that.
Yeah.
So what's meaningful to you? What do you care about? What do you value? Where do you see pain in the world that you want to alleviate?
Yeah.
And lean into that, care for that, reach out to that, impact that. And then give. And the other thing about giving is if you automate giving, and you automate giving on a regular basis, even at a small level, just like investing for your retirement, it makes it easier to grow. And at the end of the day, you'll give more than you realize.
True.
You know, if you give $10 a month to your local public radio station, at the end of the year, you'll give $120. You probably wouldn't have written a $120 check maybe, or, you know, done a one-time $120 gift, but you will do that, right? And so where is someplace you'd like to give consistently to? And what would that look like? Yeah.
I think those are really good rules. I mean, even aside from, I can appreciate everything you said, even aside from church and religion, like find something that is meaningful to you is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And give like, in a meaningful way to your means especially.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways you can interpret like what that is, and obviously even your example earlier, maybe $300-$400 is a significant part of someone's income. Depends on like whoever's listening to this too, right?
That's your responsibility in your space,
right?
And who you are in your world and where you are in your time of life.
That's right.
You know, I mean, all those are factors. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to decide, is this meaningful or not?
Yeah.
Years ago, Ted Turner famously was worth about $10 billion at the time. He owned the Atlanta Braves and TNN Network and some bunch of stuff. TNT?
TNT? I don't know.
Turner News Network? I don't know. It doesn't
Turner
matter.
News
Anyway,
Network.
Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Anyway, he famously gave away a tenth of his wealth. Gave away $1 billion. And everybody's like, ooh, that's amazing. And I'm like, well, that's great, Ted. Your life didn't change. You have $9 billion left. In fact, he could have given away $9 billion and had $1 billion left, and his life still wouldn't have changed.
Yeah.
He didn't have to change anything in his lifestyle, right? So some of that is about where are you, and honestly, where are you, and what do you value?
Yeah.
You know, now good for Ted for giving away 10%. I don't quibble him, but you know, it wasn't as impressive as you think it is.
Sure. Yeah. At the same time, though, like giving isn't about being impressive necessarily, right?
No.
And so, like, I wonder if you encounter conversations like that with members at your church, where, or just people in the community, or just even in our conversation, where it's is there a cutoff point in your opinion where it matters and does not matter?
In terms of,
In terms of like what your means are, you know, it's really hard to define that. You said it's personal to everyone, but
right. Well, I mean, you know, what is there like a bottom where it's clearly not meaningful?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to tell you what that is. That's your job. You got to figure that out, and you should know. You should be able to know: is this a meaningful gift or not? Is this feel impactful or not? You know. So I'm an ELCA Lutheran. One of the beauties of being part of the evangelical, part of the beauty of being part of the evangelical Lutheran Church in America, as opposed to some of the other Lutheran denominations in the world, is that as the pastor, it's not my responsibility to be the sole owner and authority on all things.
Right.
I don't have to be right on all things. I get to ask questions, I get to challenge, but I don't have to tell everybody how to live.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell everybody that they're right or wrong. I don't even have to tell everybody in my church how they have to read scripture. We can have robust discussions around that, and we can walk away disagreeing, and that's okay to a certain degree. I mean, at some point you got to accept some of it, but there are lines. But in general, we have that. That's not my job. My job is to say to you, what would be a meaningful gift in your life?
Right.
What would generous according to your means look like? And how does that impact you in your life, and how you share the resources that you have and have been entrusted to you. And we can have a conversation maybe about that with you, and I might help you process that, but I don't get to sit down with your 1099
you're not the rule maker.
Your 1040 and be like, oh,
sure.
well, clearly, you should have given $5 more here.
That's right.
That's not my space. And it's not about guilt. It's about feeling, and it's also about starting wherever you are and growing. Right? We want people to grow in generosity. Yeah. And so what does that look like too? If you're giving, in the church world, we work with people. We try to meet people where they are and encourage them to grow in generosity. So we don't say everybody should give 10% more, because quite frankly, if you're giving $5 a week to the church and you grow by 10%, I don't care.
Yeah.
You've gone from $5 to $5.50 a week. Like, is that meaningful? Probably not.
Yeah.
In some circumstances it might be, but most of the time in Troy, Michigan, not meaningful. So what does that look like? And what does a meaningful growth look like if you're giving $2,000 a month instead of $5?
Yeah.
And what does that say about your connection to this thing that you say you value and all that? So
that's great. That's great. Like I have other questions about generosity. I feel like you were covering all of them a little bit. Like, some actionable steps of like how to become more generous.
Yeah.
I think it's not a natural thing for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who, and I mean, full disclosure, I don't go to your church and I'm not a part of that denomination by any means. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that it's a very foreign concept to think about giving money to charity at all. So I'm curious, like, if you have any advice for people that might find themselves in that situation, like what are some small steps to take there?
Well, it's all about starting.
Yeah.
It's about starting. I talked about retirement contributions at one point. My oldest son is 24 and he's in his first real job, and I'm like, I know it's impossible. I know you can't do this. I didn't do this. I wish I had. But if you could put $25 a month in your IRA, that would be a good thing.
Yeah,
Roth for him. But anyway, and because it's easier to give 30 after you give 20, than it is to go from 0 to 10.
Absolutely.
In the same way, again, what matters to you? What do you care about? There's pain and hurt in the world. Do you care about dogs? Do you care about cats? Do you care about homeless people? Do you care about people who are food insecure? Do you care about international issues? All of those have value and merit, and all of those need resources. So what is it that moves you and speaks to you and that you care about? And then start. The hardest gift to give is the first gift. The hardest gift to get is the first gift. And so find a space and give that first gift. And the easiest way to make it bigger and do a small gift and make it bigger is make it reoccurring. And almost everybody is happy to sign you up to give $5 a month or $10 a month or $20 a month or whatever it is. And start there and then see where that journey takes you.
Sure.
And see how that shifts. And maybe you say, now I care about this other thing more. Well, you can shift, you can change. Yeah. Or maybe what you realize is, I've started giving $10 a month to this thing. Well, now I care about this too. Maybe I could probably find $10 a month to give to that.
Sure.
These days, that's like half a cup of Starbucks.
It's true.
As with the way that stuff's going.
That's a good point.
So, and start someplace, and then maybe you will find your heart moved and your spirit moved to say, you know what? I'd really like to give $5,000 or $10,000 to this organization, because if they get that money, they're going to do these amazing things with it. Right. And I want those amazing things to happen. And then there's, I still remember Dawn, who is an older woman and came to me during COVID as the government kept sending money to us. We kept getting these checks from the federal government. And she came to me and she said, I got this check. I don't need it. Here, give it to somebody who needs it. I thought that was a beautiful spirit, where she realized that she had more than she needed. Her needs were taken care of. She was fine, and she wanted to be able to give that way. Generous according to your means, it doesn't have to be sacrificial. It's the more meaningful the gift is, the more impactful it'll be in your life and in the lives of people.
I appreciate your words on that. That's great. The word kind of keeps coming to my mind is uncomfortable. Not the conversation that we're having by any means, but the act of going out and doing those things, if you're not used to it, is not a comfortable thing to part with your money. Right. And it's not always money too. It's you can be giving of your time and of your care. But
Yeah. Well, if it, you know, if it's not uncomfortable and it doesn't feel different, it's not change.
Yeah. Well, so here's where I'm going with that, though.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of culture. This is probably a lot in my circles as a business owner, as a middle-aged man.
Yeah.
Actually, I just read a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. Have you ever read that?
Not yet.
It's fantastic.
Apparently,
Add it to your
I'm
list.
going to.
Yeah. There's a large movement. I would say it's probably a bit more towards men than women, but still, it's for everyone. To intentionally go after uncomfortable things. A lot of that is aimed at psychological resilience and physical training. You know, like the David Goggins. You know who that is, by any chance?
I've heard the name.
Navy SEAL.
Oh,
like,
okay.
There's a large movement to really like, let's intentionally go after uncomfortable things because it makes you tougher.
Sure.
It makes you more resilient. Fill in the blank.
See, that's countercultural these days too.
It is countercultural, and it resonates with me deeply. And this is another section, like this whole conversation about generosity, where pretty interesting idea to explore discomfort when it comes to parting with your financial means towards people that need it, or to part with your time, part with your actual effort
you
somewhere.
give away your money and you can't have it legally. You can't even get it back.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like it's an IRS thing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are, I think, comfort zones. Their comfort zones have grown a lot because they're intentionally doing really hard exercise and all these things. But like, what a profound difference to explore this level of discomfort with some other things.
Well, I'd be happy to talk to anybody who wants to be uncomfortable around that.
Yeah, for sure.
Wherever they want to be uncomfortable.
For sure. Well, that's wonderful. So I'm going to start a new segment here called "It's Getting Personal."
Uh-oh.
I know.
You didn't send me these questions.
No, I didn't send you
ahead of
this
time.
question. That's right. You can't be prepared for this. That's nothing serious. But
that's all good.
You've spent a lot of time teaching and talking and mentoring with people. You've set up charity events. You have some experience in fundraising. You got a lot of experience giving back to the community. I'm curious, what's a personal experience or moment in your life that really shaped your perspective about the importance of generosity? And something that influenced, that could be related to the Mighty Gobbler, or it could just be a personal thing for you.
So I've traveled to the Holy Land a number of times and taken groups to the Holy Land.
Are you talking about Ann Arbor?
Don't you blaspheme.
I'm sorry.
No, actually we are.
Horrible.
I did have to agree to cheer for the University
fair.
of Michigan. My
Yeah.
wife is a Michigan grad, University of Michigan grad, so we are Michigan fans in my house.
Fair enough.
No, I'm talking about Bethlehem and meeting the people there, and I have dear friends there, and watching folks who have so little open their doors to you and welcome you. Beautiful, huge meals that they welcome you into, teaching you about their culture, their life, their reality when they're living in challenging and very difficult circumstances. It's just humbling.
Sure.
And the, kind of some of the Arab tradition of never showing up anywhere without a gift. Even if it means stopping on the way from the airport to your house to buy some token thing, they've got to bring a gift. And that spirit of abundance and generosity, and where the relationship matters more than anything else. Those have been humbling. One time in my first call, the first church I worked at, a little country church in Churchville, Virginia, and I had this couple.
Hold on. A country church in
Churchville, Virginia. It is
just making sure you didn't make that up.
It's one of the larger suburbs of Stanton, Virginia.
Okay.
Which is in the Shenandoah Valley, beautifully nestled in the mountains,
Yeah.
and it is exactly as big as you think it is.
Okay, fair enough.
The T-Bone Tudor was across the street. That was the diner.
That sounds amazing.
It
Okay.
was something.
Okay.
It was an experience. But I had a couple who gave me, they said, we've had good things happen in our life, and gave me $100. Give this to somebody who needs it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I put it in a book on my shelf and forgot about it. And then one day I had a guy, we were on kind of a secondary road. And I had a guy stop by the church who was a little agitated, pretty sweaty. He was thirsty, wanted water. He was looking for money for whatever he needed money for. And it was not a comfortable vibe. And I had no cash at the time. I never had cash. We never had extra money to have cash. And at some point I remembered that $100 bill stuck in that book, in that bookshelf, and I took it off and I gave it to him. And part of me was paying him to leave because I did not feel safe around him. But part of me was thinking, what a gift they gave me to be able to pass on to this guy. And what a privilege I have as the pastor of receiving gifts from so many people and then being able to use those gifts in amazing ways. And that's always humbling too.
Love that. Love that. Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate appreciate what you've had to say about generosity, and it's really fun to think about Mighty Gobbler this coming Thanksgiving
Day. 8:30 is the 1 mile, 9 o'clock is the 5K. MightyGobbler.com. Do not be late. It's going to be packed. We have a new start-finish location, new place to pick up your registration on registration day. It's going to be amazing.
Awesome.
The weather will be pristine, I promise you.
I'm sure it won't be cold.
And
even.
Seth24, all lowercase, $5 off coupon to all friends of the pod.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
All the plugs.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, my privilege.
We'll make sure we blast that all over the place so that people can know exactly how to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing whatever his name is.
Tom, Sam, I don't know.
Vote on it. Tom seems right to me.
It does,
Tom
but,
the turkey,
but see, the only problem with that is people keep saying, oh, you have a turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day. I said, no, we don't. It's the Mighty Gobbler.
That's right.
It's not a turkey trot.
It's not a or the turkey trot.
No,
not
it is
even
the
close.
Mighty Gobbler. There's only one.
The Mighty Gobbler.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right. Appreciate it, Paul. Thanks
Absolutely.
for coming on.
Thank you, Seth.
And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.